All right, so Thursday, you can see the market's moved lower. S&P is moving towards its ascending support. It did kind of bounce next to it. So it looks like that ascending support held for now. I think Friday is going to be a very important trading day. Let's see. I don't expect a crazy low of day close for Friday, but I do expect us maybe to sort of again test the low of Thursday, holding this ascending support. I really reckon next week is going to be very significant. So in terms of the sort of this short-term pennant we've got here, again, I favor the downside. Let's look at the Nasdaq. Very similar. Okay, it hasn't moved as low, let's say, but very similar. There's no ascending supports I can draw here because it's just all too tight. So I'm just looking for the old school, test of the low essentially. So I'm just gonna. I think it's easier to analyze the S&P to judge what's happening to the Nasdaq, but they both moved down almost 1%, which is in my books quite nice to see because I'm looking for the market to go lower, to take everything lower, to buy back stock lower. Dow Jones, again, it was really strong all of these weeks, and even here moving up here was strong, and now it's good to see that in 3 days we've come all the way back down. Okay, it wasn't down as much as the S&P and the Nasdaq, but it's basically the same thing. I mean, markets were down essentially 1%. And you can see here we expect more support. So I don't know if we're going to venture all the way down today. I'm not actually sure what to expect today. I don't think there's any news. So I do expect today to be a little soft. So maybe test the lows, bounce. I would really like to see a close sort of near, 32,800, preferably lower, but I kind of expect a sideways day today. But still, next week is set up, because if we flush this in the Dow, you can expect the Nasdaq to come lower, and more importantly, actually the S&P to lose its ascending support, and then it all sort of cascades. I reckon, not very quickly, but we just need to break these prior support levels. Let's look at the Russell 2000. That one's held up quite nicely for now. It's that chart looks like the Dow, at least the top part, it hasn't ventured as high as the Dow, nowhere near, but just sort of this part here, you can see it rebounded near its old high quite well, and it hasn't come down as much, but whatever. Once the Dow comes down and the S&P, they all come down. So I'm just looking for further downside. Today, I don't expect a crazy move down. I do expect a bit of sideways move, but it's not so much the Russell, it's really the Dow and the S&P. And I think they're the ones that can break their technical, immediate, short-term support levels. And that can sort of put extra pressure on the other indices. VIX, forget it, just weird. DAX did come down yesterday. I do expect more downside. I really think it should at least be testing prior resistance here, but this is just obscene stuff. So, and plus it's the German market, which I don't really trade. Still, obviously, everything's connected. Let's look at interest rates, which essentially moved sideways. Now, I'm doing this on Friday morning. I fell asleep with my daughter as usual. Woke up at 3 in the morning and just couldn't be bothered to do a video. So here I am doing it at 7 in the morning European time on Friday. So yeah, sideways, right in the middle of the channel. Nothing to see here because we have to wait for a breakout or a breakdown. So I'm judging. I still favor a breakout in the 1 year. The 2 year, we did break down, generally speaking, for all the yields besides the 1 year, but we didn't exactly follow through. So here the 2 years sort of, reclaiming that old support, breaching this. Yeah, so I don't know. The 2 year is the most important one. That's the one the Fed has to follow. And yeah, what doesn't go down must go back up. So I don't know. I'm not going to really try and predict yields for now because as the market goes down, people can enter bonds, pushing yields lower. But generally, I expect yields to go higher because it's all about increasing interest rates. So I expect a bit of a roller coaster in yields. I think what's more important is to predict the dollar and the market if you're trading commodities at the moment. That's my opinion. The 5 year also just venturing back up. That broke down technically. I mean, there's no real support here. I'm not going to say that, 3.4% because of this areas. It's not. It's just going back up because maybe the 2 years going back up. So technicals, the only place where you can say technicals are still strong or at least playing a role, I'd say is the 10 and the 30 year because this ascending support, which is maybe not ideally drawn. I don't know, sort of you have to be a bit rough here, maybe a weekly support, but this sort of zone is still holding, I would say. So yeah, 10-year sort of bouncing here and still holding generally this area. Again, it's not very precise, but I do think it is playing a role. It's a rough ascending support zone. And obviously this zone here horizontally, which kind of coincides with that. I don't know. I just feel like this a rough ascending support is playing a role in the 10-year and the 30-year, same thing. It's not very, very precise what here actually is. It's hitting the bottom of the lows quite well, but it's sort of breached it, but coming back up. I don't know. Yield is getting harder to read technically. And also their correlation to markets, whether it's yields up, yields down. Normally yields up sends market down, but now yields down could also be related to market down because people are entering bonds in fear of market going down, pushing yields down. So I'm not going to read too much into yields right now. I do think long term overall we still go higher, and I still think the market goes lower. But I understand why yields might go lower if fear enters, the mass minds with the market going down. So anyway, that's yields. European yields, forget it. I mean, it's just sort of going sideways. I do expect that also to go back up, especially the European yields, actually. Let's look at the dollar. That I think is more significant for commodity trading, and that is holding technically. And this is a more precise ascending support, and I think it is definitely holding for now. Let's see, we could break down. I do expect, to be honest, it should have already bounced, but it's still possible. So again, I do expect it to test this, and it could go a little higher at this point. If it does go higher now, it would only test around here. But it's holding technically. Let's just see what happens. If we go lower, then again, commodities could move a bit higher. It could favor a bit of a push higher in the market. Let's see. I'm just watching the dollar for now. I do see a lot of resistance on the upside, and even I was saying I didn't really expect the dollar to go all the way back up here because it's way too much resistance. I don't think it's going to venture back into its 114, or even test that 120 all the way up there that everyone was watching before. Where are we? Yeah, up here 120. That's going to be pretty hard. But if the market collapses, see, right now people have forgotten what it's like, I would say, when the market really starts to capitulate and everything is red. You've got gold down 2.5%, which never really makes sense when the market capitulates. But you see that, the miners down 8-9%. S&P, NASDAQ down 5%. I'm talking about those days. What happens when you have those days? The dollar probably is up massive. So I think it would take that kind of event for this to really just be able to run for the highs, the old highs of 114, or even make 120. But otherwise, if we're going to get these sort of days where it's down 1% and just casually, I don't see the dollar having the strength to move up. But still, let's just watch it, and let's just because I'm trading mainly commodity related stocks, so I need to watch it. It's still holding for now. Let's see what happens. Let's look at commodities. I'll start with copper, which is still not flushed, so that's still holding strong. We do also see reports of China reopening slowly, having an effect, copper demand, and just generally, there's a bit of a delay actually. So I think that's also holding copper up quite nicely. But again, news I don't read into too much. I do expect this to come back down and test old resistance. I haven't really covered copper that much, but I think I should. Also uranium, I feel like I should cover. I know that's one that a lot of people got into. Sort of there's a bit of a hype over uranium related stocks, and I was really looking to get into uranium stocks, and then they took off, and I don't like to chase, but that's something I want to cover. There are one or two stocks I like there if there's a big pullback. Well, yeah, copper I do expect to at least come down here. It'd be very strange if it just kept going, actually. But we've seen what gold's done. So let's look at natural gas. That has also surprised me. I mean, it's still, now it's low threes. I wouldn't touch this until 2.5 at this rate because I would have bought here. I mean, I'm just sort of paper trading this, to be honest. But if you're not in natural gas and you buy now, I completely understand. And to be honest, it's still probably a very good trade long term. I mean, this should move all the way up. Yeah, that's kind of that's due for a bounce really any moment. But still, that looks capable of going lower. So we'll keep watching natural gas, oil. That one had a fake breakout, fake breakdown. Essentially, now it's back up for the breakout. So let's just see. I've said I expect us to visit 90, low 90s, or at least test 90, then go lower, then test 93. We'll see. But this is really due for a move up, in my opinion. So I like oil. And now gold and silver, which I obviously love, but I want to see it lower because I love it, because I want to buy some more. Now, gold yesterday, I thought, okay, I've called this top at least after trying to call several others. I thought we'd come back down to 1880. And no, it just smashes up, closes at the highest level it's closed in a while. It ventured into the 1930s. A lot of people, a lot of gold bugs. I'd call myself a gold bug, but they were claiming, look at this is amazing. And to be honest, they're right. To be honest, you just got to sit back and think about it. Gold at 1930, what the hell? That's really high. We're essentially 3 or 4 days away from 2000, and 2000 is, I mean, you can't really ask for more than 2000. Once you're at 2000, you can just be on your way to 3000 because the absolute high of everything is not even 2100. So this is a crazy move. I mean, look at this breakout, the descending, just grinding higher in what is, a bearish pennant here. This is a bear flag because normally they come down, and I was waiting for it to come down. No, it just screams even higher and then higher and now higher. And just look at that move. It's from the lows. Sometimes I just got to reflect a little bit. Okay, 20%. We're used to big moves. Stocks move 20% in one day, but still gold 20% move from the lows without really retracing. That's extraordinary stuff. And that's with the dollar not really coming down much. So, once you're comparing it to other currencies, which I'm not going to do here because I enjoy it so much, I will take up like 10 minutes doing it. Looking at the Japanese yen, the euro, the Swiss franc, the pound. And these are tier one currencies. You can see them. You can see gold making, I'm guessing I haven't done it yet, but basically new highs. Amazing stuff. What do I expect? Honestly, I'm going to stop predicting gold. I want it to come down. I'm waiting for it with a lot of ammunition for the miners. But at this rate, I mean, 1930 is not exactly a level. You can see my levels, 1950. I didn't even want to draw these. I thought they were totally unrealistic, but at least I've drawn them because if I didn't, I'd have to do it now. Look, if we come back down, I mean, it's going to take a lot now to come back down and flush this because this is now created an extra level, actually. Let's call it 1900. So yeah, I mean, actually, what I should do is delete this level because it's sort of obsolete. And now I've got to draw this. At least this is the way I see it. So yeah, let's just see. If gold takes out 1900, then maybe we'll visit 1880 still. And then the low part of this ascending, which will be here at this point. And then you've got 1850. Wow, it's got a lot of support on the way down. Gold does, which means silver will too, which means the miners will be held up somewhat. Let's see. I'm just leaving this here. This can just be deleted. And, you can see my lines, you can see my targets. That's what I'm expecting on the way up, on the way down. But very impressive stuff. Just really impressive. Silver, on the other hand, this has still not being able to take out resistance. And to be honest, with what gold's done, if silver is incapable of taking out the sort of 24.50 to 25 range, imagine when gold comes down, this really will flush. So here I do think I have a point. I mean, this target was hit actually yesterday. So, but I didn't buy anything. It's just, and it remains a target. This entire area is a level. So I'm going to say 23 remains a level if we flush it, and to be honest, when we flush it, because like I said, silver has not done any continuation despite gold's, series of screams higher. So let's see, when gold goes down, I expect silver to flush and maybe even come down here because gold will, if gold starts to break down, it's got a long way down to go. Despite its strong support on the way down, I do expect silver to come down quite a bit. So here I'm going to leave it as it is because it's basically correct. Yeah, let's look at the miners now. So, okay, they haven't moved to new highs like gold, but that's understandable because they've been underperforming gold. They had a very weak day on Wednesday and the markets were red, right? So the miners have to follow the markets. They also take a bit of influence from gold, but they're underperforming. Their charts are weaker. So I completely understand why gold did yesterday's move, which is good, right? Because normally, or very often, the miners will follow the markets regardless of the metal. So you could, if I saw GDX down 1% yesterday, I would totally understand that. But instead, it's up almost 3, which I also understand because of gold. But it just again shows the GDX outperforming the general markets, and which is very good for those who believe in and hold miners like me. And it reassures us that when we buy on the way down, it really is still the correct sector. I'm just still waiting for it to move lower. And will I ever get that chance? I don't like to chase, and I've got enough in it so that if it goes all the way up, I'm good. I will really benefit, but I still want to buy back. I was selling this zone quite a lot. Didn't think it would break out. It did. I've trimmed a bit here. I was even trimming here. And although the stocks that I own are still worth the same amount, they should be worth more because I've sold too much on the way up. But anyway, that's a different story. I'm not selling the miners until I really feel like gold is topped. And to be honest, then I'll probably aggressively sell, like to the point where the positions I hold will be extremely light. But I'll never close my positions, and I'll definitely never go short unless the Fed raises rates to, I don't know, 10% and stops spending money abroad, stops its wars. I mean, a complete reversal of everything. It's never going to happen. We know that. Anyway, yeah, I'm going to leave the targets where they are. I still think if we come lower, we're back to breakout, which is still going to coincide with this. So this will remain where it is. That's the GDX GDXJ, exactly the same chart. So I don't need to repeat myself. Same resistance, same supports. Ignore these targets being smaller. They're just hard to measure sometimes, hard to draw. So that's the miners. Bitcoin very quickly, really not much to say. A bit like the markets here, just small red. No, actually, what am I talking about? Yesterday, I just want to make sure this is right because I'm getting confused with this morning. Yeah, yesterday, Bitcoin had a green day. So that's unlike the markets. I feel like Bitcoin is actually outperforming the markets. It's holding this quite well. I still think if we move lower, so if we start to flush for whatever reason, whether it's the markets or Bitcoin on its own, or maybe some news, right? FTX sort of, or maybe a new scandal. If we start to flush, then I do think we come back down here. For me, that totally makes sense. And if we do go lower, then the descending will really act as support. So, I mean, generally, I could make a massive target and just say this whole area is a buy, which I'll do actually. But I think it's quite strong, and I wouldn't be surprised now if we just move higher, especially if the market is not green and Bitcoin is green. Then I would say, okay, it's outperformed the markets. It's held this nicely. It wants to go higher, so definitely visit here and maybe even visit there. And then you're gonna have a lot of people saying, okay, is the bottom in? And although technically that's really nice because you break out of this descending after a massive flush. For me, this is the best kind of breakout. Then you go higher 2 or 3 levels, and then the 25,000, which was really resistance for a while, you basically got a bottom. However, if the markets go down, which I believe they will, Bitcoin kind of has to go down. So I wouldn't say the bottom is completely in if the markets go down, but independent of the market, I think Bitcoin kind of does have a bottom. But again, there are 2 things for me that prevent me from guaranteeing a bottom in. Number one, the market's not done flushing. And number 2, some Bitcoin scandal or government regulation or some sort of government seizure of something, those 2 things. prevent me from being sure of that. That'll do. Keep it short. Today I don't expect much, just sideways. So I'll do a much better video today because I'm in a hurry right now and I'm knackered. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that. Thanks. Have a good day.